Good evening. We welcome you to this special community event this evening. We are grateful for those of you that joined us here in this Rose Canyon Stake building. But we also recognize that there are many that are viewing this as it is being live streamed, as well as being recorded for others to view after. We just want to express our appreciation for the many individuals and committee members that have spent months and months in planning for the various activities scattered throughout this week. And it has been a tremendous week, kickstarting on Tuesday with an Alex Boyer concert where there were 6,000 plus youth that came together, united in just that same goal of just finding unity, finding love, finding hope. And celebrating through music and through friendship. What a great event. We have a few other events, and we'll share some of those announcements with you now so you can be aware of those. First, we just want to let you know that there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions of our speaker after this presentation. Also, IHE has a hospitality table in our east foyer to your right, where Nate Williams, a licensed clinical social worker with IHC, will be there to answer questions throughout the evening and after this event. Nate will also have handout materials on tonight's subject matter, as well as some naloxone kits, some gun locks, and behavioral health resources. As is mentioned, this is being streamed to YouTube and will be available later for you to view. And on the handout that you should have received, it has that YouTube link so that you can rewatch or share this for the resources that are available. We'd also invite you to turn your cell phones off or to silent so that they are not a distraction, not just for the speaker, but for the recording that's taking place. I wish to just take a moment. I had the opportunity to meet early on with many leaders throughout Harriman and Bluffdale and Riverton, both leaders of various faiths as well as community and civic leaders. And as we started discussing what we could do to commemorate this 20-year tragedy that affected our country, one of the things that I just witnessed to you came from God the Father. Is He wanted us to talk about how we can bring hope and love to each other. One of the many principles that I think we learned during the tragedy that happened during September 11th, 20 years ago, is how we united together immediately after, and how love and being a good neighbor seemed to overcome so much of the tragedy that we were feeling. And it's in that same spirit this week, through that Alex Boyer concert, through these events last night and tonight, and through various service projects that are on that flyer that we'll be able to participate in on September 11th throughout the day. We hope that, if nothing more, we can come together as communities, as neighbors, and have that love and neighbor and community feel. With that, we want to welcome a member of our 70 in the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, a great mentor and dear friend who we want to just give a few minutes, Elder Daniel S. Meir. So, Elder Meir.
Dear friends, it's a real honor and privilege for me to be here tonight. I've been asked to introduce our guests, and I've got to know them just a little bit before the meeting. You'll find some interesting facts about them as I say them. If you had to see what they gave me to read. It's pretty good. But then you'll know why I asked some more questions. So here, I'll read this to you. It says, Marnie, and this is Marnie Vaya. Did I say that right?
Vaya.
See, that's Tongan, and in Tongan they use it Vaea, but she's Vaya. So that's a difference. I learned that tonight. And with her is Mimi Landero. She's one of her understudies. So Marnie is a licensed clinical social worker and has a wide range of clinical experience working with individuals, couples, and facilitating groups in the following areas. Now listen to this. And I asked her a specific question. After I read this, I had to ask her a few questions. Probably you have the same questions. I would say you're an expert in these areas, Marnie. Grief and loss, self-harm, depression, anxiety, domestic violence, physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, trauma, anger management, stress management, suicidal ideation. I want to say that in Spanish, ideation. In Spanish, ideation, ideación. Low self-esteem, lack of self-worth, substance abuse, sexual function and concerns, eating disorders, religious or spiritual crisis. Now, what question would you have in your mind? I asked her, my goodness, how do you go home? And she says, what I have to do is I have to take off my name tag, and if I can do that, that's a physical thing that turns into an emotional thing. So I can take that off, leave the office, and then be able to be with my children, my husband. She has 5 children. She grew up in Sacramento, California. Interesting part about her and her husband, she's 2 years older than her husband. And so she was attending Relief Society meetings when he was in the Young Men's Program. How fun. Back then, 2 years was like an eternity between a group. She's over all the social workers in, and it was in the U of U, or the U of U, or is it?
So the quality for the care management team.
I'll let, okay, that's right, Intermountain Healthcare. So you can explain that to them so they can understand a little bit more, because there's a lot of words in that sentence. So they might be able to understand a little better. Anyway, Intermountain Healthcare, in charge of all the group of social workers in that group. Okay. She's going, kind of, okay. With her, Mimi Landero, she's now working on her master's in social work. And she's worked in the Alpine School District and Head Start. She's from Provo, Utah, and went to Mountain View High School. So we welcome both of you here, and we look forward to your presentation.
Hi, I'm Marnie, and thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. It makes me sound a lot more important than I really am. So currently I work for Intermountain Healthcare. I am the quality consultant for enterprise care management. And care management is a team of social workers and nurses that work together in the hospital to help with mental health needs, discharge needs, to make sure everybody is ready to leave the hospital and have a successful transition home or back into the community. I am grateful to be here tonight only because this topic is so important to me. In my career and in my personal life, and I thank you guys for being here. I know life is busy. There is so much going on. You can be at sports, you can be at so many things, and you chose to be here, and that's important. And that says something about you and your desire to learn these things and be able to help others and yourself possibly. Let's see. So I'm going to start. I am not the smartest person in the world, and maybe that's why I went to school and decided I'm going to do social work, because it seemed like it was going to be the easiest route. And so I'm glad there was a lot of really, really smart people who did social work before me or who studied psychology. And so I'm going to talk about a couple of those people. The first one is Maslow. So Abraham Maslow, back in the 40s, he created this 5-tiered model of human needs. It's a pyramid, and you'll see at the bottom is physiological needs, and those include air, water, food, shelter, the things that we need to survive. And Above that is our safety needs. And then love and belonging, our esteem, so our self-respect, our self-worth, our status, our recognition, our confidence. And then above that is the self-actualization, our desire to be the best that we can be. And so what Maslow initially thought was, in order to move up this pyramid, you had to have everything done and right in the lower level. So once you had all those physiological needs met, you could then move up to your safety needs and then move up from there. Later on, he changed his mind and he determined that there are times in life where we're going to go up and down this pyramid. You could have all of those needs met. You have a great job, a family, something happens, life happens, you lose that job. In that pyramid, you're going to go back down a little bit. And so you can move up and down in that pyramid. But as parents or as leaders, what we want to do is we want to support our kids and our children to help them get up this pyramid. And the way we do that first is physiological needs. And I'm not going to take a lot of time to discuss physiological needs tonight. We're going to focus on some other stuff, but it is still important. And if these needs are not satisfied, our bodies cannot function optimally. And it is the most important because all other needs become secondary until these needs are met. So I have here a couple resources. 211, okay, so this is one resource. 211 with the United Way of Utah is an opportunity. It's a resource to call if you have any of these physiological needs that you can't find a way to meet them. You need extra help. You know somebody that needs help. Have them call 211. Call 211 at any time. They also have an app that you can download, and all sorts of resources are on there so you can get these physiological needs met. Okay, next one is going to be the safety needs, and that's what we're going to talk about. That's what I'm going to talk about most tonight. The need for physical safety and emotional security are essential for ourselves and our children to thrive. Another great smart person that came before me is a neuroscientist named Paul MacLean. So Paul MacLean came up with this triune brain, and what he says is, and I believe him, but he came up with this model that our brain kind of has three parts. The first part is the reptilian brain, and sometimes people explain it as this. You have the brain stem, and I don't get too deep in this because I will mispronounce every single word. So we just say the brain stem and the little part of the brain at the bottom. And these together are our reptilian brain. And that reptilian brain is our flight or flight response. It's everything that happens naturally or biologically. Our senses, being scared, things like that. On top of that is then our social or emotional brain. So that's this, our fingers going down our emotional brain. And then we have the rational brain that's kind of over the top that holds those two together and connects them. I'm going to use an example of Grandma and her apple pie to explain this a little bit more. So our reptilian brain will smell the pie. Our emotional brain will get happy, will get hungry, and then our rational brain will come in and say, we got happy or hungry because we smelled the pie, because a prior experience told us that this pie is yummy by smelling that smell. And so that rational brain brings the emotional and the reptilian together and makes it rational. Let's see. So, a safe space. All of us need a safe space. And Oxford Dictionary defined a safe space as a place or environment in which a person or category of people can feel confident that they will not be exposed to discrimination, criticism, harassment, or any other emotional or physical harm. So our goal is to create this safe space. We want one for ourselves, but tonight we're talking about children and what us as leaders or parents can do for our kids. And so how do we make our homes a safe space? I'm going to talk about first the physical environment that we're in. And these are some tips to create a thriving space for your kids where they can flourish. And this goes along with anywhere. This could be at a school, if we have a teacher, a leader there, this can be in the classroom, this can be at church in the classroom, this could be in the car when you're driving from school to home, anywhere that you want to create this safe place for people that are going to be there. And first tip is be intentional. So you want to make sure that you do things on purpose and with a purpose. And on the top right, your guys is right, you'll see a picture there. I took a couple pictures in my home so I could explain or show you some examples. There on the top, I have a son who has epilepsy, and so he has seizures. And he takes medication every day. He forgets his medication frequently. And so what I did is I intentionally put his medication where his apple cider is, because he doesn't forget to drink his apple cider every morning and every night before he goes to bed. So his medication is there, and because of his seizures, he sometimes has some sadness in regards to things he's not able to do. He's the biggest football fan, and he can't play football. So I, above that, have a sign that says, "You are my happy," and then it says, "Sigue tus sueños," which is follow your dreams in Spanish. And I didn't put those there on accident. Those are there so every day when my son takes his medicine, he sees those signs. He sees that he can still follow his dreams even though he's taken this medication, and he knows he has this disorder that will not allow him to follow some of the dreams that he has. Next, we want to cultivate comforts. We want to make sure the furniture is comfortable to sit in. If we have hard cement floors, put some rugs, do some things, move things around, pillows, throws. People like textures and colors. Make the area inviting and make it comfortable for your kids to sit in. We want to clear the clutter. Small steps each day make a difference. When I say be intentional with things and decorating your house, there's some things that are just full of clutter, and I think sometimes as parents we love it and we think it's beautiful, and we created this whole wall with every picture imaginable, and for some kids that can be really distracting. Some kids could look at that and it could cause anxiety for them. If you have a daughter in the home who doesn't like looking, she maybe has a little bit of self-worth, some low confidence issues, and she's looking at that picture every day and she hates it, she's not going to want to sit in that room. And so have conversations and do things intentionally so your kids want to be there. Use lighting, brighter in the morning and dim in the evening. At Intermountain, it's the first thing I noticed when I started working there on the mom-baby unit is in the morning, the lights are on, it is bright, everybody's awake. As the afternoon goes on, the lights get dimmer and the lights get dimmer, and it really does set the ambiance there, even in the hospital. And you can do that in your home. Open curtains in the morning, close them, light a candle in the evening, and turn off the lights. Something to slow down the space and help people relax. You want to revel in your senses, just like the apple pie. It's the things in the home that are in that reptilian brain that make you feel safe. Smells, things that you see, colors, things that you feel, fresh air. Open the door, open the windows. I know flies are annoying and they might come inside, but sometimes your kids need some fresh air. And then you want to introduce nature. So here's my picture of nature. I have a wall that's completely done in palms because I cannot keep a plant alive. And so my nature is wallpaper. And even though it's not a plant, I look at it and it brings me happiness and makes me think I'm sitting by palm trees. So little things that you can do will really benefit the area. Nature, it's proven to reduce stress, anger, and it boosts positivity. Let's see, we want to quiet the noise. Our kids need to be able to turn off their mind, and they can't turn off their mind if the TV's constantly going or if the radio's on and music is loud. Mom and dad are talking across the room, even if it's not a negative talking. Kids can't turn off their minds if there's always something going and there's always noise. And then we want to invite joy. Small additions can evoke positive emotions. And here you'll see some turtles, and they just make me smile thinking about them. And so in my room, I have a best friend who loves turtles, and she had passed away as kids, and when I see these turtles, it makes me think of her and it makes me happy. It used to make me sad. Now it makes me happy. And so People come in my room and they think, why do you have stuffed animals? And in my mind, these stuffed animals bring me so much happiness you wouldn't know. So every morning when I wake up, I see my turtles. And when I go to bed, I see my turtles. And I could care less if somebody's judging me that I have stuffed animals in my room. Okay, and these are just a couple more examples I have. As I said, I have a daughter who, well, I didn't say I have a daughter. I used it as an example, but I have a daughter who does not like to look at pictures of herself. And so in my home, I want her to know that she's still welcome and this is still her place. So instead of having pictures, I have statues. So I have little statues that represent the kids, represent our family. Include your kids in creating this environment because it's their space too. I'll tell a story, and it's not to be mean against my mom or tell her she did a bad job, because we all make mistakes, but when I was, 12 or 13, me and my sister needed to share a room. And she said, because you guys are sharing rooms, we're going to take you and get you whatever wallpaper you want. We're going to make this an amazing space. And so we go to the wallpaper store. This was back when they had wallpaper stores. And we picked out this wallpaper. We came home from school the next day, and it was a completely different wallpaper in our room. And it was the hideous, most horrible wallpaper in the world. So every time I went in my room, I hated it, and I didn't want to be there. And I just never felt safe there because I saw that wallpaper, and it told me my mom doesn't care about my thoughts or my feelings, and my mom knew I hated this wallpaper, yet she hung it on my wall. Was that my mom's purpose? No. It was the cheapest one, and we were poor, so that's why she bought it. But a kid doesn't get that. A kid doesn't understand that in the moment. I saw that wallpaper and thought, my mom could care less what my feelings are. And so little things like that make a difference. So have conversations with your kids. If your kid walks in and says, oh, that picture is so ugly, talk about it. Move the pictures. Take it to your room. If it does something for you, move it. If it doesn't do something for somebody else. Okay, let's see. Also, kids, they're funny. All of our kids, everybody has their own likes and dislikes. My daughter, part of her nature, she loves these rocks and crystals. So she has a part in her room where she has all these rocks and crystals. To me, I want to go in there every day and clean them up and put them in a jar or something. But it's not my room, it's not my space, and I let her have that area. So when she needs to be in her own little space, she can go there. She tells me she needs more space in her closet. And I say, you have boxes of shoes up there. And if you took the shoes out of the boxes, you would have more room. But for her, these shoes are important and they make her happy when she looks at them. So for her, she'd rather have less room and have her shoes there. I may not understand that, but that doesn't matter. It's her area. Okay, and we will never be perfect. These are currently my stairs in my house. So I may have some nice areas, but we have been remodeling. And these are the stairs that go down to my basement. Well, I don't live in my basement, so I don't go up and down those stairs all the time. I have a son who came to my room crying the other day. And I said, son, why are you crying? And he didn't know. He couldn't explain why he was crying. So I tried to make him feel safe, give him a hug, let him know I'm there. If you think about, if you understand or know why you're upset, come talk to me. So I said, but for now, why don't you take a moment, go into your room, relax, think about why you're angry and come back and talk to me. And he goes, okay, and he walks outside of my room, he gets to the stairs and he comes back and he goes, I didn't make it to my room, Mom. And I said, okay. And he goes, I'm upset because the stairs, when are you going to put carpet on them? And I just thought, I never once thought that these stairs like that were affecting my kids, but they also have to go up and down them. And in the morning when they wake up and go to school, they go up these stairs. And I just thought, I am so sorry, son, that I was not looking at from your perspective and seeing what you saw. And so no matter what we do, there's always going to be times that we're not perfect. We all know that. And all you can do is try your best. And it's okay when you're not perfect, and it's okay to apologize to your kids because it's a safe space. And kids will really appreciate you apologizing to them and not being perfect. So you see how our physical environment can really affect our emotions and our emotional environment as well. Here are some tips, however, to really bring a flourishing environment for your kids in the home in regards to emotions. We want to slow down. When we're running around like a nervous wreck, our kids feel it inside. When mom thinks she's being productive and she's running here and running there, and kids are like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And they don't know how to react to that. Inside, everything is going back and forth, and they don't know how to react. We need to listen. And when I say listen, that means stop what you're doing and give your full attention. And I get how hard that is. Life is busy, and it is so hard to stop what you're doing. It's so hard to stop cooking dinner. It's hard to stop mopping. It's hard to stop what you're doing and look at your kids and really have a conversation with them and listen to them. And a lot of the time, there are things that don't matter to you, and you might not care, but if you don't listen to the things that don't matter, they're not going to talk to you when there are things that do matter. So sit down and listen to those things that you may not think matter, because they do. And then don't judge when you are listening. People are scared to share their thoughts out of fear of judgment. And all a kid wants to do is make their parents proud, so they don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to tell you something that's going to make you unproud. And so if you judge them, they're not going to talk to you, and they're not going to share things with you. And we don't want to overreact. There's going to be times when your kids tell you some scary things, and inside you are freaking out. And that's fine. Freak out on the inside, but don't show it to them. If you need to take a moment and get away, take a moment and say, thank you for telling me that. Go out of the room, go to the bathroom, turn on the shower, and freak out all you have to. And then come back to your kid. But if we overreact, they're not going to come back and talk to us again. And then ask before giving advice. It's funny because this just happened this evening. This happens with kids and adults alike. Sometimes we just want to talk. We just want to share something. Doesn't mean we want to be directed as to what to do. We want to be able to make decisions for ourselves. And this is how we can actually even teach kids to start making decisions for themselves. When your kid comes home and says, hey, the guy at school was being really mean to me today. Oh, I'm sorry that happened, son. What are you going to do about it? And ask him questions or ask her questions. And then before giving advice, even though you're the mom and you know so much and you have all this knowledge inside of you, say, you know what? I have a couple of ideas of things that you can do. Do you want me to share those with you? And if your kid says no, then don't keep talking. Stop. Don't tell them your ideas. Say, okay. If you ever want to hear my ideas, I have them for you whenever you want them. And be okay with not solving all your kids' problems. And then stick with your kids. Just like we talked about earlier, the brains. When somebody's in their reptilian brain, they cannot describe their emotions. They cannot have conversations rationally, and we can't expect them to. And so stick with them until they get to a place where they can have those conversations. If you're having a really tough moment with one of your children, let them know. Say, hey, I get you can't get there right now. I get you're not ready to talk. Know that I'm here when you are ready to talk. And then don't forget about it. Even if you have to set an alarm on your phone in 15 minutes, hey, check in with your kid. To remember, hey, just so you know, I'm here. Are you ready to talk? If they're not, they're not. And just say, I'm here. If you want to talk, come talk to me whenever you want. And just leave that door open and stick with them. Don't forget about it. And then use empathy. You want to put yourself in their situation and at their level. My first thought is a 16-year-old girl coming home and her boyfriend has broken up with her. A mom or dad is going to be like, in 30 years, you won't even remember that kid. Who cares that he broke up with you? He was a jerk anyways, or all the things that a parent would say. But for this girl, she is in crisis. Put yourself in her situation at her level, at her age. Be that 16-year-old girl and tell her you know how hard it is. Even if you may not think it, even if you're happy because you didn't like the guy, tell the girl, tell your daughter how hard it is. Ask her feelings, ask her thoughts. Don't overreact and don't judge. And then we want to provide consistency and structure. When we don't know what's going on, it's hard as adults. And And kids these days are just dragged in many different areas, many different places. It's, come on, get in the car, we're leaving. Half the time the kids don't even know where we're going. Get in the car, we're gonna go over here. We end up at the skating rink. I didn't bring my skates, Mom. And I'm just like, oh, dang it, I forgot to tell them we were going to the skating rink. Keep a schedule, have a calendar up, a group text, something that says, these are kind of the plans that we're doing this week, be ready for it. Know what's coming your way. Kids don't want to be dragged away from everything that they're doing all the time, because mom and dad's situation or the things that mom and dad need to do are not always more important than what the kids need to do, but mom and dad think they are. What we have to do always trumps what our kids want to do. And sometimes our kids just need to relax and not be dragged around with us. So we all do know that a lot of the things we do are important and we have to be places, but if we set that structure for them and maybe say on a Sunday night, have a family meeting and say, hey, just so you know, Wednesday night we're going to this, you know, it gives them a heads up and they understand that, okay, this is something that we're going to be doing. So that structure and the consistency is really helpful. Okay. And then conversations. If you're not having conversations now, start. If you're having them, keep having them. And if you feel like they're not working very good, change how you're having them. And keep changing it, because each kid is so different. You could start a conversation with one and they keep going and keep going. With another, you have to approach them a different way, have a different type of conversation. Here are some tips to encourage communication. Keep things simple. Asking questions beyond how was your day might be a stretch for you, and that's okay. You don't have to be the world's most creative conversationalist. But instead of saying, how was your day? A conversation like, hey, how did you feel at school today? It makes the kid think. They're like, oh, how did I feel? I felt fine. Oh yeah, what about it if it made you feel fine? You know, and you start having those conversations and kids start thinking versus the same, how was school? Great. How was school? Great. Every single day. So ask those questions to get a response. Eye contact is optional. Sitting across the table from a parent may be really uncomfortable for some kids. Instead, use activities like while you're riding a bike, taking a walk, or riding in the car, really good times to conversate. One thing that's really great right now is texting. Get out your phone and text your kid. Who cares if they're in the other room? That's how they want to communicate a lot of the time. And if that's how they want to communicate with them that way. Does that mean you never have to talk to them in person? No. But that gets the conversation going, and it gets your kid engaged because they're paying attention to their phone. And then they respond to you that way. Sometimes it's hard for them to be vulnerable and show their emotions. So when they can do it in a text message, a lot of the times it's easier. And you're still getting the information from them and having that conversation with them, even though it's not the way that you would ideally have it. And then be genuinely curious. Kids know when we're faking interest. If they give an interesting or unusual answer, follow up with why, or tell me more about that, or cool, I had no idea, thank you for sharing. Let them know that you care. Let them know that this game that they're talking about matters to you, even though it doesn't. And when it says kids can fake it, the kid knows you don't care about the game, but you could care about their progress in the game. Oh, I'm glad you're getting better at the game. Or something that says you care, but not necessarily about every little thing, because you don't want to lie and fake it too much. But you could find something in what they're talking about that you care about. And then watch your response. A little bit ago I said that, and I put it here again because why not? It's important. Your child will clam up if you use this time for teaching, correcting, criticism, or unfriendly sarcasm. Stay away from lecturing and making the discussion about you. Make it about your kids. And this is just a little sign that I had seen a while back, and I loved it. It says, I can let out a sigh of relief knowing I'm there, knowing I'm safe there always. And just as a mom, as a friend, as a therapist, as a leader in work, the people that report to me or my kids or everybody, all you want is for them to feel safe when they're around you. All you want is to know that when they're away from your home, they know that they can come home and be safe. And And this little girl, I just saw it and I thought, you know, just release that air, you know, a physical release when the kids come in as, I'm here, I'm safe, the world out there is rough, and this is my place where I can be myself, and where my parents love me unconditionally and are not judging me, and I can tell them anything, and that's okay, because we all make mistakes, we can all be forgiven. We can do something wrong and come home and tell mom, because mom's not going to hate us because we made the wrong choice. Mom's going to encourage us and be there and help us get over it. And dad, sorry, I use mom a lot because I'm mom. Dad, just as important. And I'm sorry, was it President Mayer? Okay. So he introduced Mimi a little bit, but I'm going to introduce Mimi to you guys. I'm really grateful to have her here tonight. I really have the biggest fear of being on stage. And I told myself, in order to get over this fear, I have to say yes to every opportunity that I'm asked. So the minute somebody asked me, I said yes, and then I broke down, of course, and thought, how am I gonna get through this? And I thought, I need somebody with me. And then I thought about dear Mimi. So Mimi is currently an intern with me at the hospital, and she is doing her Master's of Social Work program. And so she gets to work with me each day. And Mimi has a huge background of social work. She's worked for Head Start. She's worked with the Alpine School District. So she's worked from the perspective of kids and been around them and has seen a lot. And she has to do a community project for her school this year. So I thought, why not kill two birds with one stone and have her here as a support for me, but also for herself and for you guys. So this is Mimi, and she is going to chat with you about a couple more things. Thank you.
Thank you, Marnie. I'm just like her. I'm not a big public speaker, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm very excited about this topic because, like she mentioned, I did work a few years in Head Start and at Alpine School District, so this is like my passion. I work with children, I work with parents, and I strive to see children and families thrive. So I just have mostly tips for you guys. So one of the first ones that I have is managing mental awareness. Recognize signs of stress in your child, and we'll talk a little bit more about each. Connect with family and friends. Support healthy coping skills, and never be afraid to seek for help. So recognizing some of the signs of stress in your child, I kind of wrote some here. I'm going to read them off from this PowerPoint. So behavioral, and this is reading your child, having difficulty giving or accepting help is the sign. Increase in irritability or being too worried. Not wanting to talk or be with others. Having trouble relaxing or sleeping. Those could all be behavior, so what they show you. Physically, they can tell you, or you could see that they have headaches or other pains. Change in appetite, maybe they're more hungry or less. They easily are startled. Stomach aches, those are all physical examples. Emotional, feeling anxious, feeling angry, believe it or not, sometimes is a sign. Feeling sad or depressed and not caring about anything. They're not enjoying the things that they used to do. Thinking, they're feeling confused, they can't think straight, trouble remembering certain things, difficulty concentrating, and difficulty with decision making. Connecting with family and friends is one of the greatest things that we kind of had to become innovative, especially now with COVID, where we lost that connection, and it's very essential to our mental health. And I found this quote from Everyday Strong that I really loved, and it said, connection is more than just being in the same space as your child. Connection is doing activities that your child enjoys, even if it's something you don't always enjoy doing. Connection is when a child feels their parents, their teachers, friends really understand them. And then supporting healthy coping skills. It could be anything that makes you happy, and I have here some examples. It could be exercise, It's always important to remember to breathe, take deep breaths, relaxation, meditation, stretching also is a great one. Do pleasurable hobbies like reading, music, taking a bath, spending time with family, and sometimes it's even having a moment alone is also something that is a healthy coping skill, and dancing or music, and then always just having somebody there, if it's a friend, which is actually the next one, to never be afraid to ask for help. You can always ask members of your school, you could ask administration, you could ask school counselors, school psychologists, school social workers, I did mention psychologists, teachers for support, sorry, religious leaders, doctors, your primary care doctor, mental health professionals, just like Marnie and myself, and to family. Never be afraid to reach out to your family. Someone that you trust, or maybe it's someone that you don't want them to know specifically who you are, someone that you feel comfortable to talk to that is not connected to you, and you won't feel judged. And those are kind of the tips that I had for parents. Here's some of the resources that I have. Did you want me to play the video? Okay, and I have a quick video for you guys. Let's see. Might not be the best tech savvy. I think I got it. Okay. Hopefully it loads, but it's a quick video that talks about we all have mental health. Not sure if we're going to connect to the internet.
You can't tell how someone feels just by looking at them or what they share online. To the outside world, our lives may look perfect, even if in reality they aren't. I'm always worrying about doing well at school, and with the end of year test coming up, I'm not sure how much longer I can cope. My thoughts swarm around my head, sometimes keeping me up all night. Some days it's just all too much, and I feel like I'm lost in space. When I did badly on one of my tests, I just about kept it together until I got home. Then I broke down crying in front of my mum. She listened for a bit, and then she told me that, just like physical health, we all have mental health. It's our feelings, our thinking, our emotions, and our moods. She then said that feeling down, angry, and stressed is a normal part of life, just like it's normal to feel happy, confident, and carefree sometimes. We all have positive and negative emotions that come and go based on what's happening around us. These are everyday feelings. Good mental health means experiencing negative emotions. It's not always about being happy. Mum can relate to the feelings of stress. So when Mum suggested I take a break from everything and do something I enjoy, I actually took her advice. So I made myself a hot chocolate, snuggled up in a duvet and watched a film. And you know what? Afterwards I felt so much better. Mum should take her own advice.
Most of us only ever share the good things. We don't like to share how we really feel. Every morning when I wake up, negative thoughts stream through my head. Getting out of bed and pretending I'm okay takes all the energy I have. As the day goes on, the negative thoughts turn from a stream into a river. The water rushes through my head so loudly it's hard to concentrate in lessons. And some days it's so bad it feels like a waterfall that's trying to pull me over the edge. Everything is so overwhelming. I didn't think my friends would understand if I told them how down I was feeling. But when Sasha opened up to me about how stressed she was feeling, I told her. I wasn't sure how to bring up how I'd been feeling, so I started by saying that I didn't feel like myself. Just her listening made me feel like she understood. She told me some things that had helped her, so I tried them too, but it didn't make much of a difference. Even when I tried to be around my friends, I felt alone. The things I used to enjoy weren't fun anymore.
I was really worried about Andre and not sure what to do. He was quiet and wasn't hanging out with us like he used to. So I asked our head of year for some advice. He suggested I get Andre to speak to him since his negative feelings weren't going away.
I didn't want to speak to our head of year, but I also didn't want to keep feeling so down, so I went. He said that sometimes we have overwhelming feelings that can be more intense than our everyday feelings. These feelings hang around for a long time and change the way we feel, think, and behave. They can stop us doing what we want to in life. That's what I was going through. He also said that if we're physically unwell, we let people know, we ask for help. It should be no different with mental health. Sometimes our overwhelming feelings are brought on because of things in our life. Sometimes they happen for no reason at all. After hearing this, I felt much less alone and it felt good to talk. Scientists have found exercise can help when you're feeling low, so our head of year encouraged me to sign up to the school football club, which Sasha was already in. I still have days when the river is there, but now I'm beginning to understand my mental health. I'm learning how to cope. Our head of year reminded me that my friends, family, teachers, and lots of others at school are there to help just as much as he is. I had no idea the people around me could be so understanding. And while it's not always easy to talk about my mental health, the person I'm talking to might be able to help. If you don't feel like talking, that's fine. You could try writing, sports, reading, art, music, playing with your pet, whatever makes you feel better.
If you're the person someone talks to when they're struggling, just listen with no pressure or judgments. You don't have to have the answer. If you feel unsure about anything, you can speak to a trusted adult. Talking about mental health doesn't have to be difficult. After all, it's something we all have.
Okay, so my purpose in showing that video is just because we all have access to so many resources. You can go on YouTube, you can go on Google, you can search for little videos, and a lot of the time we don't know how to start those conversations. We don't know how to talk to our kids about these things. And so you can find videos like this and share them with your kids, and then ask your kids how they feel about the video. You could even send your kid a little text with a link and say, hey, watch this video. Find something that will bring some emotion into them and make them think and make them want to respond or talk to somebody else, even if it's you they don't want to talk to. We all know that mental health, we all have it, and everybody's going to have anxiety at some point. Everybody's going to have depression. And it's when it gets to where you can't handle it anymore, when you need to reach out for help. And all of our kids are always going to be in a place where they have emotions, they're learning to deal with them, they're learning to cope with them. And no matter what we do, no matter how safe of a place we've created in our home, things are going to happen. The difference is that when you have that safe space and that safety with your kids and those conversations with your kids are more apt to come home and talk to you. They're more apt to send you a text from school and say, oh shoot, school's hard, Mom, and you can say, come home. So if you start those conversations now, then those conversations are going to be so beneficial later. Thanks so much for coming tonight. And then in regards to questions, is it questions in here, in the halls? What would you guys like?
We'll do it after.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marnie and Mimi. What a wonderful message. Just very well presented. We appreciate the time that you've taken this evening and just in sharing with us, and that hits home for, I think, every one of us can relate and just take those principles to heart. So again, we want to thank you. We've got Nate that's in the foyer out here and Marnie and Mimi that are willing to answer questions up here. Would invite you at this point, if you have any questions, to come up and speak with Marnie and Mimi, or go out in the foyer, speak with Nate. And then we also hope to see you on Saturday at the service projects as we just celebrate this week of community. And just thanks again for coming this evening, and we hope you have a safe drive home and a great week.